Hey bakers, John Cannell from Preppy Kitchen here. Today we're making a perfectly sweet, super zingy lemon meringue pie with a homemade butter pastry crust that you are just gonna die for. It comes together in a snap, and let's get started. I'm zesting 2 lemons into a large bowl. Use nice fresh lemons, organic if you can find them. Otherwise give them a really good wash. The zest has so much flavor and aroma that really is a great addition to any lemon dish. 1. And 2. All right, roll those lemons out a bit. Ooh, slippery. Roll them out, help kind of break them apart, and they'll release their juices more easily. Now we can give them a good cut. And strain your juice. We want to have 3/4 of a cup of fresh lemon juice. Fresh, people, not that pre-made stuff, fresh. These are actually from my mom's tree. She brought over a care package on her last visit. So it'll be an extra special dessert. I just juiced 5 smaller lemons. Let's see how much I have. I want 3/4 of a cup of lemon juice, and the zest is already in there. Oh, that's exactly 3/4 of a cup. How nice. Okay, next step. Into a good-sized heavy saucepan, I'm adding in 1 1/3 cups of sugar. That's 266 grams. There we go. Didn't fall. 3/4 of a cup of my lemon juice and zest. 1 1/4 cups of water, a generous 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, and I'm going to zero this out and tell you exactly how much cornstarch I'm adding in grams. So 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons or a 1/4 cup of cornstarch. That's 50 grams. This is our thickening agent. It's so important for getting a pie that you can actually cut into. If you add too much, a little gelatinous. You add too little, totally gloopy. You choose. We're gonna whisk this up now. That cornstarch will form clumps, so really just try and break them up first. Okay, that's great. I'm gonna set this aside for just a minute while we separate our eggs. Yesterday, I had the worst luck and broke 4 egg yolks in a row. And I need to have my egg whites for the meringue topping, so I'll be cracking each egg individually into a test bowl, like I should be doing all the time. Then yolks go in one, dump that out, and repeat the process. This is the best way to do things. I really rarely do this, but yesterday was so crazy that I learned my lesson. Second yolk broke. What the heck? It's not going so great. This one's better. In you go. So I have 4 egg yolks and 2 egg whites. All right, so I'm reserving these 3 egg whites for later. I need some more though, so that didn't work out as planned. Whisk your yolks up. We're gonna set them aside. Now for our lemon mixture and some heat. Place that lemon mixture on medium-high heat and just keep stirring it. You're gonna watch it, keep it moving, and you'll notice when it's thickening up. It'll take a few minutes, but it's worth the wait. Okay, so right now you can see that it's starting to thicken up on the bottom. It happens really quickly. So just stir, 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 and stir a bit harder too. Like stir, 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 and you can see, oh, what's going on here? It looks totally different now, right? This means that we're now ready to turn the heat off. And I'm gonna place a wet towel underneath my yolks. It's a viewer hint I got. And just pour in maybe like 1/3 or so of this while you whisk hard. This is tempering the egg yolks. Okay, and now we can add the hot egg yolk mixture into our lemon mixture. Get it all in there. So turn it back onto medium heat now. And we're gonna whisk it for 2 minutes. This is great consistency. It'll really set up nicely. But if you wanted it to be runnier, just reduce the cornstarch by 1.5 tablespoons or 20 grams or so. So now I'm going to add in 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And we're going to stir that in. It's going to change the consistency completely, make it so silky and just amazing. Of course, butter makes everything better. See how silky that is now compared to before? Perfect. Let it cool down for just a minute, and then we can pour it into our pie shell. You're gonna be pouring that delicious filling into the pie crust of your choice. I suggest a beautiful homemade butter crust. You can click up here for my perfect pie crust recipe. It has all my tips and tricks on how to get it right every single time, but let me take you through it real quick. Add 2.5 cups or 300 grams of all-purpose flour into a food processor along with half a teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 cup of sugar, and give it a nice whiz. Whiz, 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 whiz. Then add in 1 full cup or 226 grams of cold cubed butter. Pulse in the food processor a couple of times until you have like a small grainy mixture, grains the size of lentils. Drizzle in a 1/4 cup of ice water mixed with some vodka. Your choice on how much. Just kidding, just add a tablespoon of vodka to that ice water. Drizzle that in while you pulse the food processor, dump it out onto a surface of your choice, mush it up together, wrap it in plastic, and then once it's chilled, you're gonna roll it out, plop that into your pie tin, whatever you're using, get the edges all nice and pretty, add some parchment paper, some tin foil to support the edges, fill it with pie weights or beans, whatever you want, bake at 425 for about 15 minutes, remove it from the oven, remove all of that tin foil, the beans, the paper, give it an egg wash, tent the outside, bake it again for another 15 minutes at 425, and then reduce the temperature to 375 and bake until it is golden brown. Pie filling cooled down just a little bit, so let's add that in there. This smells so good. It smells so good. Now let's just smooth it out a bit. And this is a very deep dish pie crust. I have a swap out where it's a kind of a normal size and it fills it all the way to the top. But this gives you some room for the meringue too, so it's not all gonna be hanging out. Okay, that looks fine considering it's gonna be completely covered. This guy should go into the fridge, and honestly, if I were you, I would do this the night before. So I would just bake it up the night before and then the day of, top it with the meringue, toast it, and serve it. You could also top it with the meringue right now. It will be okay, but it's safer to do it this way because the meringue might weep a little bit and just become kind of slippery and slidey when you cut the pieces. And you want them to be nice and stable. That's the whole point of using that cornstarch and doing all these steps. Cover this with plastic and pop it into the fridge for at least 3 to 4 hours, at least 4 to 5 hours, or overnight. I'm gonna come back with one I made yesterday. Okay, so yesterday I made this pie. You can see it's kind of the more typical pie tin-sized container, and it fills it all the way right to the top. This is nice and good to go. I'm gonna make some quick Italian meringue to top this. You can make a French meringue if you prefer, but Italian meringue is gonna give you such a silky, wonderful consistency. You're gonna love it. For the Italian meringue, I'm adding in 1 cup or 200 grams of sugar, 1/3 cup of water. Set that aside for a minute. And I'm gonna use 160 grams or like 4 kind of extra large egg whites. All right, I'm adding in my egg whites to a very, very clean bowl. You can wipe it down with vinegar if you want. Pinch of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. It's a little acid to help stabilize the egg whites. And we're gonna get this going. At the same time, we're gonna place this sugar on a medium-high heat. This needs to come to 240 before we can pour it in. So hopefully the egg whites will reach the soft peak stage right when your sugar hits 240. If not, adjust things. Start low and then move high. You wanna break the egg whites up slowly. Once your egg whites start frothing up, we're gonna add in 1/3 cup of sugar really slowly while we're mixing. Drizzle that sugar in. Don't rush. Okay, now we can check on our sugar temperature. So just check this out. That hit 240. This is the soft peak stage. You can see that it forms softer peaks that kind of have a little bit of a droop to them. Very pretty. So all we have to do is add in our sugar very hot, very carefully, while this mixes up. Let's give that meringue a little bit of flavor by adding in a splash of vanilla. This needs to mix up for a little bit, kind of warm, so we want this to be closer to room temperature. when we plop it onto that nice cooled lemon curd. It'll be so amazing. Use a spatula to transfer a giant mound of that meringue onto your cooled pie. Go ahead and massage it a bit. Create some little spikes, little swoops here and there, some nice visual interest. Now it's time to torch it. This gives a beautiful definition and a wonderful depth of flavor to that meringue. I love it so much. If you don't have a kitchen torch, you need to treat yourself and buy one right now. If you don't like meringue, by the way, you could totally just top this with whipped cream, leave it plain, a little dusting of powdered sugar, even some strawberry slices. All of those would be delicious. I, however, love meringue, so I'm excited to take a bite. Yeah. So much lemon flavor, but it's not too much. It's just right. And that meringue, it's really light, balances everything out. And for me, the best finishing touch is the crunch of that pastry. It is so crispy, crunchy, perfect. If you enjoyed this recipe, check out my lemon cake. It is full of zing, so creamy, and it is a great lemon lover's party treat. Thanks so much for watching. If you like my videos, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.